The juxtaposition of that capability with privacy concerns. And I mean, certainly that's something that I think we always have to think about. I look at, the younger somebody is, it seems the more they're actually very open to and less concerned about those issues. But certainly that's something that I think as an industry we have to keep wondering about. How do we make sure that we get to a place that, both enables what people want and serves up the information they want, but respects privacy? So discuss. I'm sure everybody has a point of view on that.
Well, we've looked at this quite a bit at Alcatel-Lucent as well, because we want to understand how identity is being shaped with the networks that connect us every day. And I think that an easy trap to fall into, because it's seductive, is you underestimate the complexity of the consumer. And you underestimate the complexity of people, right, as individuals. And we often automatically conflate identity with privacy. And we say those are one and the same. And the reason we do that is because typically if you're seeing a headline grabber, it's typically about a company that misstepped somehow in this debate. And they find themselves on the next page's headline and the next evening news, or the late night comedy punchline, I should say. So we're all kind of, a little bit more cautious.
Just about 10 years ago, the technology that you would often get in your workplace was better than what you could get in the home environment. Now, what I can actually get at home rivals, if not surpasses, what I can get in my workplace.
Consumers with better technology than business? If you work in an enterprise, that won't come as a shock. It's just one of the fast-moving trends confronting business today. Big data, the cloud, mobility and BYOD, or bring your own device, are creating a minefield for enterprise decision makers. Where to make investments, what kind of privacy policies to adopt, how to attract top talent from a new tech-savvy generation.
The impact is pretty severe, especially for enterprises that resist technology, those that hold fast to rigid decision-making, rigid bureaucracy. And what we find is that those enterprises have worse financial results than their peers. They have higher turnover than their peers. They are not able to attract the same level of talent. So there are a host of potential perils that face that enterprise.
Does this have connectivity? Do we know?
Alcatel-Lucent marketing executives Jerry Power, Allison Cerra, and Kevin Easterwood, the authors of Transforming Business, Big Data, Mobility, and Globalization, conducted research with more than 5,000 enterprise workers in the US and China. Their aim was to help enterprises come to grips with some of the most vexing questions posed by rapidly evolving technology.
I think in writing the book, we wanted a book that reflected all of these changes that are happening in the enterprise, but we wanted a book that was also prescriptive.
Take BYOD, or bring your own device, a popular trend among employees.
These devices that they paid for out of their personal pocketbook, they're bringing them and using them because they're finding that these devices enhance their ability to do work and help them perform better.
Yet in spite of increased productivity, some IT departments prohibit the practice out of security concerns, creating tension between employers and employees. Similar operational issues face enterprises when it comes to cloud.
What we found was that typically cloud is done for things that don't require real-time access. They tend to shy away from cloud whenever mission critical is there, but the security tools are getting better constantly.
Attracting top talent is key to the success of any enterprise, and the millennial generation, now entering the workforce, embraces the new technology like no other.
This is an always connected generation. They are always multitasking.
And these digital natives often use their tools in different ways from coworkers. One study involved a group of baby boomers and millennials listening to a lecture, then taking a quiz about what they heard.
And if you were in the room, you would have noticed the baby boomer side of the room, sitting up, diligently listening, taking notes, feverishly paying attention to the presentation. On the millennial side of the room, the second the presentation started, out came tablets, phones, laptops, they're down in their devices, and the millennials scored a full 20% higher than the baby boomers. It turns out they were discussing with their peers in the room. They're just using their devices to do that as opposed to writing down every word that the presenter sang. If you can figure out a way as a manager to empower them and let them use their tools, you see an incredible amount of productivity out of this generation.
Enterprises are also confronting big data, the hoard of information piling up on their servers, which is doubling every couple of years. But just because there's a mass of data available doesn't mean it's easily put to good use. There are ethical concerns, and it takes expert analysis to tease out correlations that make sense.
We joke in the book, shark attacks and ice cream are very highly correlated. So obviously sharks like ice cream, right? Now, shark attacks and ice cream happen during the summer months. That's why they're highly correlated. But think about these other things that maybe aren't as intuitive, where enterprises will rush headlong into a particular decision with data at their side that they feel very confident in and come to a completely erroneous conclusion. It's not just the analytical skills, it's the judgment capabilities, not just for what to use and how to ethically use it responsibly, but how to interpret the data. For anybody reading the book, hopefully you walk away with a better understanding of how is mobility and cloud and collaboration and big data fundamentally changing the roles of the enterprise, and then what are the bigger implications to things like what happens in our country. These are some of the things that give you not just a commentary on what's happening, but also practical advice as to what you might take into consideration as you're planning your own journey as an enterprise.